Well, good day, everybody. Appreciate you joining us today. We always appreciate the opportunity to speak to those we represent. And today, your Board of Douglas County Commissioners has an urgent message about you and your home. The state property tax system is broken. A 5-person political board just stole $28 million in tax relief from homeowners like you by acting outside of the law. We will pursue legal action as the Board of Douglas County Commissioners. You're familiar with the Grinch who stole Christmas. As you know, Douglas County approved $28 million in tax relief for you. The State Board of Equalization crept into your living room and snatched that gift away, usurping local control and that legal right of local boards of equalization to make an adjustment in property values to provide relief. We are pleased that Governor Polis agrees with our position. We want you to know that tax relief is on its way, but we would ask that you call and email members of the State Board of Equalization, and we will provide that. I'm really pleased and honored to be here with our entire Board of County Commissioners, our Vice Chair, George Teal, and Commissioner Laura Thomas. I'm also joined with our phenomenal elected official. We have Toby Domish, our County Assessor, as well as our County Attorney, Jeff Garcia, and I would invite our board to make some additional comments. George?
Anybody who observed the State Board of Equalization yesterday saw the unprofessional conduct of those members. And it's pretty obvious that Senator Hansen and the Speaker of the Colorado House were applying partisan activism that is fully appropriate in a legislative setting to what should have been an administrative process. They did not follow the law. They did not act within the law. They did not allow us, as the Douglas County Board of Equalization, to apply the law for tax relief for the people of Douglas County. I'm followed by my colleague, Commissioner Laura Thomas.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. I think there are two important takeaways that I would like to mention. Yesterday, during the State Board of Equalization, I watched almost all of that meeting. I even spoke during that meeting in support of what Assessor Domish had done to equalize the values of properties in Douglas County. Joanne Groff, who is the state property tax administrator, was amazing in that meeting in continually bringing the board back to the purpose of why they were there. Joanne Groff repeatedly said that Douglas County followed the law in what we had done, and the board failed to follow the direction and advice of the state property tax administrator, number one. The second thing I'd like to talk about is on October 4th of this year, I attended the Dr. Cog Awards ceremony. And while I was there speaking with the Lone Tree Mayor, Jackie Millay, Governor Polis came up and talked to Jackie and I about the action that the County Board of Equalization had done that reduced the value of all residential properties in the county across the board by 4%. Governor Polis and Mayor Millay and I spoke about that together, and the governor said, this is really good that you did this, and if all counties did this, we would not need Proposition HH. So this morning when the governor issued his statement, again saying that he supports what Douglas County had done about equalizing our property values and that the State Board of Equalization got it wrong, I appreciate the governor weighing in on the facts. I hope that the State Board of Equalization will look at what they have done, realize that they did not follow the law, and they change it so that the equalization of properties across Douglas County is able to take place, which is legally what we need. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you so much for that. And I do have our County Assessor, Toby Domish. Toby, if you'd like to make some comments.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, all three of you commissioners, for being leaders in this area. this year. The meeting of the State Board of Equalization clearly demonstrated the mission of the board members was to address taxation and not valuation, and in doing so violated what is their primary function, that is to maintain valuation equity at the state level. The result of their poor decision is to force the county assessor, my office, to increase the actual value of 98% of homes in Douglas County just 2 weeks before tax bills are to be mailed. At the meeting of the SBOE, my office was given an opportunity to defend the actions taken by the BOCC this fall, and I presented a brief summary of the analysis that led to the recommendation to reduce assessments. That recommendation was not based in politics or hypotheticals or even tax policy, but in the study of the real estate market that occurred during the study period. There is clear and direct evidence to show my values could and should be lowered. After all, Douglas County values in residential property show the highest increase in the metro area for this reappraisal, even after the adjustment that the commissioners made. The SBOE chose to wholly ignore this information and claimed the adjustments made our values too low. The discussion amongst the board, as the commissioner stated, and the decision thereafter was clearly not based in valuation but in taxation. The mission of the State Board of Equalization should be to ensure equalization in valuation across the state, and in their false judgment accomplished the exact opposite. The decision by the SBOE was clearly influenced by taxing districts' claims of lost revenue rather than by the facts provided. We don't know the potential of this course of action that the commissioners are going to take, but Douglas County elected officials will continue to fight for our citizens in this property tax matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Assessor Domish. We've restated a couple of times that what we have been advised by our county council is that the action taken by the State Board of Equalization was illegal. And so we will be pursuing legal action to ensure that that gift of $28 million back to our citizens, which they're fully entitled to, is upheld. So with that, let me ask our county attorney, Jeff Garcia, if he has any additional comments in that regard.
Thank you, Commissioner. With regard to the legality of this matter, the state statutes permit a challenge to this, and we will go through the necessary steps to make that challenge. We don't believe that anything other than equalizing property tax across the state is the goal of the State Board of Equalization, and we're going to ensure that that goal is met. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Garcia. And I would just reiterate that this is not a political issue. This is a bipartisan issue about local control and the ability to equalize property values to provide relief in this very tough economy for our citizens. I really appreciate our Board of County Commissioners acting unanimously in this regard and working well with our county assessor and county attorney to serve the needs of our near 400,000 citizens in Douglas County. With that, I would open it up for any questions.
How long will it take for that legal process to play out that you guys were just mentioning?
Jeff?
There won't be an immediate resolution. This will be a judicial process. We will file a complaint. We'll have a judge and a jury review this, and we're probably looking at a resolution in several months. So it's not going to be something that we'll see immediately, but we will get a resolution in a few months. Thank you.
Got it. And just given the timeline that you all are looking at to do something for property tax relief, is it just kind of out of the picture now, given how late this decision came from that board?
I'm sorry.
Good.
If I could add, the Douglas County Assessor's Office, as every other Colorado assessor is required to do, will report the results of our assessments in the next few days to each of the taxing entities. So that calendar will not change, and this will be a separate matter.
There still is one other step available, and the commissioners have yet to adopt the budget for 2024. We will be doing that at the January 9th business meeting. We have the ability to lower the mills. Since I've been a commissioner, we have lowered them 5 times and saved the taxpayers $31 million. I would encourage everyone to watch that January 9th meeting, because I suspect that this board is going to do a historic reduction in the number of mills that we ask our Douglas County residents to pay. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, and just to continue on, I think a part of our mill levy reduction, we're probably going to refund that back to taxpayers. We have debruced. We do, unlike many counties in Colorado, we're not required to apply that refund, but that is something we are taking very serious. We're taking a look at to make sure that we do return that mill levy reduction in the form of a check that our taxpayers can apply either to their home mortgage or we trust their residents to take care of themselves. But we are considering applying that mill levy reduction as a refund check.
Got a question here. Thanks for having us today. This is Ellis Arnold with Colorado Community Media. We've heard the county talk about the State Equalization Board being a political board. My understanding is that the board is made up of 3 Democrats and 2 others. What does it say to you that the decision was unanimous, 5-0, and not just 3-2?
I'll jump in on that. Well, Jake, go ahead. You go to first.
My view is that the board, although they acted unanimously incorrectly. So this shouldn't be a politically charged board. I believe the entire board is appointed by the governor or by the leaders of the Speaker of the House and President of the Senate, if I'm not mistaken. And so the board is controlled by one party, as is the General Assembly. But this should not be a political matter. It should be a matter based on facts, and it's clear that the decision was not done so in that way.
You know, Ellis, you observe the operation of the county here, and you know there are times when we act in a legislative capacity, there are times we act in an administrative capacity. And you've been here and you've seen it where when we act in an administrative capacity, our process is to follow the law. And to the point of, analyzing the very words that govern our actions during that administrative process. Then you've been here and observed the times when, no, we're acting in the legislative capacity, and maybe we are acting through partisan motivations. Anyone who observed the State Board of Equalization meeting yesterday will see that they were not following the administrative guidance being given to them by state staff. They were entirely motivated by partisan politics. And listen, if it was a legislative body, okay, that's allowed, that's appropriate. But this was not a legislative body. This was an administrative body. And their charge, and what they should have done and failed to do, was follow the law.
I would just like to add quickly that if you listen to the hearing, as the commissioner suggested, you'll notice that most of the testimony and discussion in that hearing was about the resulting taxes and revenue to local authorities. There was very little discussion about the information that we presented with respect to valuation.
So I'd like to recognize, we also have our distinguished member of the state legislature, Representative Lisa Frizzell, here with us as well. And I know Lisa was very active in trying to advance legislation that would provide property tax relief. I would just invite Representative Frizzell if you have any comments. Okay. So again, I'll just reiterate that we talked about the Grinch that stole Christmas. This is intended to be, an issue of property tax relief that is not political in any way. If that is truly the case, when the State Board of Equalization reconvenes on the 26th, that is an opportunity for them to reverse the decision. We've heard both from one of the largest counties in the state, Douglas County, as well as the governor, saying that the State Board of Equalization got it wrong. The 26th is their opportunity to correct that. Any additional questions?
Maybe questions from the WebEx after hours.
Sure.
Yeah, just wanted to ask, in terms of talking about the State Board of Equalization acting outside the law, and again, this is just my understanding, but my understanding is that the State Board of Equalization can reject the county's action based on what a state auditor finds, but also just unilaterally on its own. Can you guys speak to whether there are any criteria that the board used to, reject the county's decision?
Absolutely, and I'd invite Jeff to speak to that legal criteria, and Toby.
Thank you. So What they're looking at is to make sure that the equalization of property tax across the state, so that property tax in Douglas County is equitable to property tax in Denver and Adams. They should not be looking at what equalizing the property tax in Douglas County does to school budgets. They should not be looking at how they can send a message to other counties to not assert their local rights. And those are two things that they did, as well as other measures that had nothing to do with tax equalization, but instead sending a message and looking at state revenue. Thank you.
It's a good question, Ellis, and I will add that, if you look at the testimony and the discussion that the board had is, they, help me out. Yeah, so no, Ellis, you were asking about their authority, I'm sorry. And if you listen to the board hearing, you'll notice that the state auditor found no compliance issues with our assessments either before or after the 4% adjustment was applied. In addition, Joanne Groff from the Division of Property Taxation also found no issues with our assessments either before or after the 4% adjustment was applied. So there was no advice given by those two arms of compliance to the State Board of Equalization to issue any kind of order, but yet they did it. And I think that's strong evidence that it was done for the wrong reasons.
Additional questions? I know we may have some folks online from WebEx. Let me just ask if there are any questions online.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. I do have a question from Jesse Paul. Okay to unmute him?
Sure. Hi, Jesse.
Hey, folks. Hopefully you can hear me, but wondering what your legal argument's going to be in opposition to what the board's decision was. I'm kind of piggybacking off what Ellis said. I mean, this seems to be within their purview, so I guess I'm curious what the legal argument's going to be.
Sure. So it's when they look at elements outside of the scope of what their duty is. So the law is very clear about what the intent and purpose of that board is. And when they exercise matters outside of that purpose and intent, for example, making sure that school budgets are met instead of equalizing taxation or dissuading other counties from taking similar action, those are using facts and measures outside of what they should be considering when they are looking at equalizing the property tax.
And Jesse, when you look at other states, we're kind of unique in having our Board of Equalization. Not every other state of the union does it the way that we do it. And it's done really the motivation to have a Board of Equalization made up of a number of members is to take the politics out of it, to make it an administrative arm of the state government. Anybody who watched that meeting will see that politics were front and center, introduced by State Senator Hansen and reinforced by Speaker of the House McCluskey. It was all politics. They acted improperly. They should have been following administrative procedure. Instead, they chose to add in partisan politics and make it a big political statement, acting ultimately improperly.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I did want to ask, and you guys have alluded to this a bit, that the state board brought up the issue of school funding in some way. Would the county's reduction in property valuation have required a larger amount of state backfill money to be given to Douglas County schools? And if so, can you talk about how that works?
Yeah, we can, and our understanding is that our local Board of Education and school district would not have a direct fiscal impact based on the school finance associated with that particular entity. It would just be a rebalancing in terms of who is providing what funding. But I'll invite Toby to speak further on that.
Yeah, he's correct, and I'll add that the action taken by the Board of County Commissioners would increase the amount of backfill that would take place by the state government. However, as a result of this reappraisal, local Douglas County citizens will be paying significantly more into the local share. And so it really depends on what you compare it to. If you compare it to what could be, then yes, there's a little bit more being contributed by the state. But if you compare it to the current year, the state of Colorado will be paying a lot less into the local backfill portion.
Any additional questions? Okay. Well, again, I want to thank our Board of County Commissioners, our Assessor Toby Damish, and our County Counsel Jeff Garcia. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and more to come.